Greetings, and welcome to A Year of Movies, a Planet Geek production. For this project, we are using the Ivan Walters reference book of 365 films to watch on the day they happened. Each day, we watch a movie associated with the date we are watching it on. And as it is the 10th of June, we are watching Invictus from 2009, directed by Clint Eastwood and starring Morgan Freeman. So it's kind of hard to avoid the deal of not only Morgan Freeman portraying Nelson Mandela in a film, but a movie that is also directed by Clint Eastwood is definitely high on everyone's radar when a movie like this is being produced. Now, that being said, I did not see any sort of really need to watch this movie until it came around to the viewing for this project. So this is the first time I've seen the movie. And before I go into mention the different cast members that are in the opening that I do for every episode, I want to apologize for messing up any names because I am a heathen and do not know how to properly pronounce sometimes words and names. But like I had mentioned, this movie does star Morgan Freeman, but it also stars Matt Damon, Njoa Endo, Tony Courage, Julian Lewis-Jones, Patrick Bafoking, and Matt Stern. After his 27-year imprisonment and subsequent election as president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela faces the task of unifying a country divided by race. Only months since the end of apartheid, division still exists between the country's whites and blacks. Something that Mandela, played by Morgan Freeman, notices during an international rugby match, realizing black supporters cheer on the opposing side when their white Springboks take to the field. So everything being said, this is unsurprisingly a very well done movie. When we're dealing with a seasoned actor and director as Clint Eastwood dealing with such strong performers as Morgan Freeman and Matt Damon, we definitely have a very strong movie, just acting-wise. The surrounding cast are fantastic for their roles, and we get to see the true ideals of a people trying to come into the change of their society as Nelson Mandela takes his position as president in this situation, and how he himself deals with those issues as well. So that being said, it's a fantastically acted movie. Eastwood does a really great job of being able to pull out great performances, dramatic performances from actors, but he does some really surprisingly action-oriented stuff when we get into the field onto these rugby games, which is actually quite surprising to see. Now, of course, Eastwood himself, in his movies, he's known for doing a lot of action stuff and all that, but to see him to be able to replicate a very sort of the intensity of being in the middle of the scrimmage of a rugby game is a very fascinating thing to witness. It just turns out to be a very an uplifting movie that basically gives you the idea that everyone who wants to be better than they actually are, and they figure out a way to do that. Mind you, while I know of the area where it's supposed to be centered, it is kind of weird to see Matt Damon putting on a South African accent. It doesn't take long to get used to it, but it's kind of weird when he first speaks to see this accent coming out of his mouth. But again, very convincing, and of course, surrounded by other fantastic actors doing a great job. So as the Springboks, the rugby team that Matt Damon is the captain of, goes throughout having different games and all that, they end up having one on June 10th, 1995, where they beat Western Samoa. And that happens at 1 hour and 22 minutes into this 2 hour and 14-minute movie. And when it came to the Academy Awards that season, it got nominated for Best Actor for Morgan Freeman, Best Supporting Actor for Matt Damon. And on that note, we're going to wrap up here and look off into the future to see what we're going to be watching for tomorrow, which is going to be the 11th of June, and that is going to be The Whole Wide World from 1996. So until next time, go see a movie.